All right, we're going to get started. So welcome to the Touch of Life Foundation's third week for the virtual volunteer program for ages 14 and older. At this time, we will introduce the panelists for the Touch of Life Foundation. Hello, everyone. My name is Maid Nasarin, and I am the president and co-founder.
Hi, my name is Avni, and I'm a board member for the Touch of Life Foundation.
Hello, my name is Jay, and I'm also a board member.
Oh, my name is Fetin, and I'm a board member for the Touch of Life Foundation.
Hello, my name is Meghana, and I'm also a board member for the Touch of Life Foundation.
Hi, my name is Ashani, and I'm also a board member for the Touch of Life Foundation.
What are the economic impacts of human trafficking? Human trafficking is a $32 billion industry in which the majority of the income goes to the traffickers, not the victims. These traffickers do not pay tax on this income they are earning. Victims are sold from a few hundred up to $50,000. The traffickers make an initial investment with the expectation of making more due to the victim providing a constant source of profit by being sold repeatedly into prostitution. Trafficking can be done by one individual person or can involve an entire criminal organization. Trafficking is the third largest illegal trade behind drug and arms trafficking. Human trafficking is fueled by demands for cheap labor.
What is the commodity being traded? Human beings. Humans like you and I are being traded like goods in exchange for money, and they have no other choice. Imagine being herded around like cows, only to be finally sold to an owner. That is the unfortunate truth of about human trafficking. These victims are the commodity being traded.
The economic impact of human trafficking renders adults dependent on the welfare system of the country since they have gone through years of trauma and illness. They are unable to assimilate back to normal living. So this decreases human labor out of the workforce. As people are trafficked, the labor or talent they would have been able to provide is now unavailable. The government does not benefit from any tax revenue. In fact, it costs the government millions in law enforcement, prosecution, and jail. The government has to pay court costs, jail, and law enforcement. Additionally, the government has to provide resources and facilities for rescued victims such as shelter, counseling, rehab programs, and public health since many come in with illnesses.
Since many people are extremely vulnerable and desperate, the traffickers see this as an opportunity. With family breadwinners killed or injured, land and homes destroyed, many people will be desperate for opportunities.
Poverty can push families to seek better opportunities for the entire family or just for the children. Traffickers will go to vulnerable places where they see poverty, knowing that some of these families are desperate to get out of their current living conditions. The trafficker tells the family that they can get them a better job unknowingly. The family member or members might leave with the trafficker believing that they are getting a job so they can provide for their family. The trafficker takes the victim's legal documents and sells the victim. To exert control over the victim, the trafficker might use threat to the rest of the family to convince the victim to do work. In other circumstances, the trafficker might promise an education and a better life for the kids. So parents might send their children with the trafficker thinking they are doing good for the child. But the trafficker then sells the kids or forces them to work without any education or proper food. Poverty-stricken families fall prey to the trafficker's false promises.
Civil unrest can cause families to want to leave the area for safety, which then pushes them into the hands of traffickers who promise they will get them out of the country for a better life.
Internal armed conflicts cause an increase in trafficking for two reasons. One reason, similar to the previous slide, is where the families think they are paying someone to get them out of the country, but instead they pay a trafficker who then traffics the family. Or another instance is where some militant groups might traffic children to become child soldiers for their cause. They kidnap children from their homes and families, or the parent might unknowingly give the child. Thousands of children are currently child soldiers. Many are trained with guns and are even sent on suicide missions.
Natural disasters are a haven for traffickers to prey on their victims. There are two reasons. They know people might be facing extreme hardship and are desperate to find work, and that many families have been separated from their loved ones. Children have been separated from their parents. For example, in the tsunami of 2004 in South Asia, the 2010 earthquake in Haiti, or even the 2013 typhoon in the Philippines. Children and parents were separated from each other, and traffickers picked up as many children who were eventually sold outside the country. The parents desperately kept looking for the children, but were not able to find their child.
Lack of education is a key factor since many poverty-stricken people do not even know what trafficking is until it happens to them. Sometimes they never find out because the trafficker falsely gives them updates on how well the child is doing, so they are under the impression that their child is prospering and encouraging other people to send their children there as well. Pretending to do rescue efforts, traffickers pose as religious leaders, relief workers, or government officials, promising jobs and help.
Here is an example of a case of small-scale human trafficking. A university student asks his girlfriend for sexual favors or for his friends in exchange for money. A student befriends a girl and they date for a couple of months. The boyfriend then asks his girlfriend to perform a sexual act for his friend. She initially refuses, but then tells her that if she cares about him, she will do what he is asking. She eventually agrees, and the friend pays her boyfriend for the service provided. He then asks her for another person and guilts her into performing sexual favors in exchange for money. He makes $200,000 in 1 year. This is human trafficking. The supposed boyfriend coerced the girl into performing sexual acts in exchange for money.
Smugglers promised Juana and her kids a better life in the US. They and 50 other people pay a smuggler to get them across the border to the US. The family ends up getting separated because the trafficker tells them that it'll be less suspicious and promises to reunite them on the other side of the border. Instead, the kids are sold to a prostitution ring while the adults are sold to perform farm work. When they ask about their children, they are beaten and threatened that if they do not do their work, their children will get hurt, even though the children have already been sold. These smugglers have made them false promises to over 1,000 victims.
The political impact: legislation, corruption, and border control.
Immigration and migration laws. Is prostitution legal? The legal work age. What is the legal work age? Some countries do not have one, others do. Is education mandatory? Does the government mandate education up to a certain age? Many governments do not, so children will often work instead of going to school. Nothing looks suspicious if you see children working during the school day. If it was illegal, this would not only criminalize the trafficking, but also criminalize because the child is being prevented from going to school. How strict are the punishments for human traffickers? Many countries just give a slap on the wrist for traffickers that are caught and then release them back into the society again to continue the crime. The punishments are not severe enough to elicit any fear or to discourage this illegal trade. Are victims punished for committing illegal acts under the duress of traffickers? Should the victim be punished for crimes they were forced to commit? This is a huge reason why many victims do not seek help from authorities, because they fear they will also get in trouble by law enforcement for committing crimes.
Corruption. Police or state officials are often bribed by the traffickers. Human trafficking occurs with the collusion of corrupt officials with criminal gangs. This corruption allows the traffickers to stay under the radar of law enforcement. If the trafficker gets caught, they are often released by bribing the police officers or government officials. Many criminals bribe the local police, so if a victim tries to reach out to the police, they are often taken back to the trafficker by the police and beaten.
Border control. Depending on how porous the border is, Traffickers can bring victims in and out of countries quite easily. If borders are not too porous, victims sometimes pay smugglers to take them across the border. Oftentimes, these smugglers are traffickers and sell the victims instead of bringing them across the border and releasing them. They confiscate the victim's identification, phones, money, so that the victim cannot communicate with anybody or call out for help. The victim is scared to go to law enforcement with the fear that they might get deported back to their country, which might be in conflict with which was the reason they paid to leave.
This is a map of the worst countries for human trafficking according to the US State Department. Can you guys tell me one high-risk country in terms of human trafficking based on the map? Put your answer in the chat.
Yeah, of course, Afghanistan is a place where there are high human trafficking rates. India, we have someone saying the US. Yes, the US. Okay, do we have any other responses? Okay, Fetin, go ahead.
All right, so on this map, you will see that there are roughly 22 countries, and some of these you might have never heard of, such as Burundi, Comoros, the Democratic Republic of Congo. These are such cases in Africa. And in Asia, we also have Iran, China, Russia, even North Korea. And so 12% of all the countries in the world don't meet the minimum standards set by the US Trafficking Victims Protection Act. These are some of the countries in which human trafficking is the highest.
So now we have a case study. Again, this is just a hypothetical situation. So Mariana was very poor with very few, if any, options in her home country. She was raising two young children by herself in Mexico and trying to pay off her father's medical bills when she saw a newspaper ad for an agency that arranged jobs in Canada. They told her that for $3,000 they could arrange for her to get a job in Vancouver at a cardboard box factory for $10 an hour, 3 times as much as the money she could earn at home. Mariana borrowed money to pay the $3,000 agency fee and an extra $1,000 for her plane ticket. When Mariana arrived at Vancouver, a man picked her up at the airport and brought her to a house in the suburbs, where a woman took her passport for safekeeping. The woman then told her that the factory job had not come through, and instead she would be working in a lab downstairs, which Mariana discovered produced crystal meth and other illegal drugs. Everyone but Mariana knew that she had been tricked to come to Canada to work at an illegal drug lab, not a factory. Everyone also knew what would happen to her if she refused to work. Mariana refused to work, but she had no other options to pay her bills or to support her family. She felt scared and trapped. Mariana did get paid and fed, but had to work very long hours and sleep in a room next to the lab with 10 other men and women. Mariana grew very concerned that she would be seen as a criminal for working in an illegal drug lab. When Mariana asked for her passport back because she wanted to leave, the woman told her no. She knew too much, and if she tried to leave, they would kill her family. So this is one situation. Do you guys have any comments of what she could have done better, or just like something she could have looked out at before? Type your answers in the chat or the Q&A. So someone said go to law enforcement if you can trust them. Yeah, of course. Again, when the victims are engaged in criminal activity, you can still go to the law enforcement to seek help. Do research before she went? Of course, yeah, she should have researched the organization to see if it was legitimate or not. Before going anywhere to work, always do a background check. Yes, of course. Um, it sounded too good to be true. Yes, it did. And again, you should do a background check and you should get more information about the business. So yeah, always do your research before. And if you're ever worried or have any doubts, go to the law enforcement. She should have told family members where she was going. Yes, of course, like the exact location and all of that. Okay, let's go to the next slide.
There are 2 tasks for this week's assignment. The first task is to create your own scenario, just like Mariana's scenario. And the second task is to subscribe and watch one of the videos on our Touch of Life YouTube channel, which we will send in the chat and in the email from the webinar. You should write a 1-paragraph summary of what you've learned during the video. You can use any video on the channel besides the most recent one. And you have to do both of these assignments.
Now it's time for the Q&A. If you have any questions or comments, put them in the chat or the Q&A.
So someone said, will our videos be featured on your YouTube channel? Yes, all of your videos will be featured on our YouTube channel. So we're publishing the videos every Sunday. So yeah, go and check out the channel. And also, for this week's assignment, like, yeah, don't forget to subscribe as well, just to get the notifications and learn more about trafficking.
I can send the link right now.
Perfect. Someone said, this seems very frightening because you do not know who to trust. Yeah, of course. And as mentioned before in the case study, always do your research before on the businesses, on the employer. So yeah, just don't go into a business with all these high hopes if you don't know what's going on. Is trafficking across state lines common? Yes, this does. Oh, okay, Fetin, you answered that. Perfect. But yes, trafficking along state lines are very common.
Where should you send your summaries? Should they do it to the website?
So pretty much for all of the assignments for this session, send them to the MSAR and a Touch of Life F&D email, and then from there we'll be able to upload it. So Savera, for your assignment, feel free to do watch 2 of the videos and write 2 paragraphs. So for each video. So instead of doing 1, do 2. I like the new website. Thank you.
Will there be opportunities to volunteer? We're doing one more session in, I think, a week. Next week on Sunday.
Exactly. And after this 4-week session is over, we're going to conduct another webinar series that we don't have the exact date yet, but it will be before the end of the year. And also for other volunteer opportunities, we are like opening positions in the organization, not necessarily board members, but like just like head of a club or head of a certain chapter. Is it okay if we turn in our assignments 1 day late? That's okay, but just email me first so I know. had SATs yesterday. Yes, SATs were yesterday. Can our friends join the next series? Of course, feel free to share this series and share the foundation with many people. Can you please tell us more about are you talking about the upcoming webinar series? Yes, okay, the upcoming webinar. So pretty much the upcoming webinar will be more about awareness and spreading it, because now you guys have the fundamental concepts about human trafficking and child labor, and now our goal is to really spread more awareness about it. So like through platforms such as social media or actually talking to congressmen. So yeah, it'll mostly be focused on spreading awareness.
I think we're posting past webinars on the YouTube channel.
This has been very informative. Thank you. So for all of the recorded webinars, we will be posting them on YouTube. So right after this session is over, we'll be posting these to YouTube. And then I send you guys an email every week, so that link will be attached as well.
Oh, and if your friends want to join and they want to start getting emails, there's a application on the website. There's a tab called Virtual Volunteer Program. You can just sign up. Then you'll get the emails.
Also, we'll be posting regular updates on the website when we decide when to put the next volunteer programs dates, so be on the lookout for that too.
You should send the video summaries to the email.
Okay, someone said, how do we start a school club? So what you'll do, you'll contact us. We already have a set curriculum, but you guys can alter it for your needs. And yeah, we'll help you create it, and we'll just help you kind of design the curriculum even more. So for getting the hours for this webinar, we're doing it a little differently this time, because instead of giving everyone the full amount of hours, we're giving them hours based on if they have come to the webinars and if they've completed their assignments. So yeah, be sure to complete your assignments to get the full community service hours and to attend all of the webinars as well. Can this club be in college as well? Yes, this club can be in college as well. Yeah, feel free to create a club in your high school or your college. Yeah, and like Fetin said, you have to make sure it's appropriate for everyone. Like college students will have a higher level intensity compared to high school students and middle school students. So yeah, all of the curriculums will be altered for that certain grade level. Well, you haven't got the hours for the first volunteer program. I sent you guys all the certificates. Did you guys, oh, did you get the certificate? Okay, someone said I received mine. Okay, that's good. Okay, I can resend you the certificate. Okay, I think that's it for today's webinar. Thank you guys all for joining today. Have a nice day, and this will be posted. And if you have any other questions later, feel free to email me. Okay, have a nice day, everyone.